Start. Okay, so I'll share my screen so that you can. So yeah, so these are the list of services provided by AWS. So if you go in compute section, you will find AWS Lambda. So these are, you can say, as function as a service. These services are basically you write your functions, and those functions means can be scheduled or can be triggered means time based, or you can trigger them through APIs. So and it can act as a microservice for your means for your application. So for example, if you, for example, let's say I wanted to fetch means my meetup data at a regular interval. So for this, I have written a means code, sample code, which runs at every like means every midnight, and it means store the result of those meetup data into my means my DynamoDB. So before you start, you should think of this as a small systems every time being deployed, and means uh, uh, so if your means connection like dependent modules, dependent services are not scalable, then this flexibility can create a lot of problem for you guys. So for example, let's say I want to query my database using this AWS Lambda. So since AWS Lambda uh, is a microservice, and it has like not a limit of how many APIs will be, means how many APIs call will be called. So for example, now say you have 1 million users, so it will be like 1 million connections will be established to your database. By database, I mean RDS, your RDS like MySQL or Postgres. So in that case, your Postgres will not be able to handle those many connections. So these APIs will become a means pain for you. So in those kind of scenarios, I'll suggest don't go with AWS Lambda. As for each request, it will create one new connection. So all requests will run independent of each other. So for those kind of connections, you can go with DynamoDB. And for example, if you have any like means if you have only compute task, like you have n number of data in your you can say in your S3 bucket, and you want to analyze or you want to write some code to monitor those data. So for those kind of activities, you can use AWS Lambda because for those small tasks, if you create your new EC2 server, then it will be quite expensive. So for those kind of scenarios, you can go with AWS Lambda. So these are a few cases where we use AWS Lambda. So it means and your AWS Lambda can be triggered by means almost all AWS services. So if you see, means there is like a lot of services like SQS, SNS, S3, Kinesis, and then DynamoDB. So these are like triggers. So these can trigger your AWS Lambda. However, if you go to your means like services which AWS Lambda can control, those resources are almost means are all the resources you can say. So and in order to grant these means this API permission to access these resources, you need to give them a role. So role are like below. So if you are means if you want to give like this lambda function access to your DynamoDB. So you have to define a role which will have AWS Lambda, which will have permission for DynamoDB. So means if you don't have any, you can create a new role also. So both options are provided over here in below section. And in order to means execute these functions, always remember that your function should end in like 5 minutes. So maximum 5 minutes of time is allowed. If you try to exceed, sorry, maximum of 15 minutes they have increased. So it will be by default timeout after 15 minutes. So it's like means suppose if your function has more computation time, then your function will break if it exceeds the maximum time of 15 minutes. So these are few things to remember when you start deploying your Lambda function, when you are trying to think or thinking of using Lambda functions. And also the memory constraint is like of 3008 MB. So these are few constants, so which will help you design your architecture. So always remember this thing. So whenever you need more RAM to perform these activities, so you can't go with AWS Lambda. So for a small things, for, say you are building an API where you want to analyze the video, means for example, if you say you have a machine learning algorithm already built and you want to simply, you don't want to build a server to respond or to decide what image was in your S3 bucket. So for those kind of things, you can use AWS Lambda. So you can directly trigger your yeah, Lambda and provide the S3 image URL which it has to analyze, and you can use uh, recognition. I think, yeah, recognition in machine learning is one service. So yeah, this one, recognition. So this service you can use to decide means what that image is of. So those kind of things you can means directly integrate with Lambda. So means it's quite good service if you are like trying to do some pre-processing of your data or post-processing of your data. This function will help you a lot because it will be run for a short duration and it will also not cost you much. So if you guys have any question till now, you can ask, or I'll start with a proper demo.
Yeah, can you please show the how you have started the function or how you have created the function?
Yeah, let's start with that. So, means I was thinking, before I start, if you have like scenario-based question, or means like if you want to have a proper means knowledge of certain sections, you can ask me. Otherwise, I'll start with a proper demo. Okay, then I'll do one thing. I'll start demoing how we can create your Lambda functions. So in order to create, you have to first go to your means compute section, and that you have Lambda. So it will list out all the functions which you have written till now, and means in that zone, in that region. So basically, this is like in my Northern Virginia. I have so many functions written. I want to go to say Asia Pacific. So you can see that in this region, I don't have means any function created. So you should have this in mind that Lambda functions are means region by region. So it's not like global like S3. So it's region specific. So if I go to my, so let's say I want to be in Mumbai region, and then I can go to create function, so which will provide you means like how you want to start. Do you have any means do you want to use a blueprint, or you want to browse serverless app repository, or you want to scratch means start with a scratch. So you want to build everything on your own, so you can go with uh, So you can start with without any using any blueprints or serverless API repository. So you can name the function. So for example, I'll say this as meetup demo function, or just meetup demo is fine. And there are multiple languages which you can choose. So they have like .NET, Go, Java, Node.js, Python, Ruby. Node again means other versions are provided. So these are like languages provided. So you can remember that they like currently they have like six options: .NET, Go, Java, Node.js, Python, and Ruby. So I'll go with Python 3.7, and then you need to provide the permissions. So what you can do, you can create a new role, or you can use an existing role which you have already provided. So I'll do one thing. I'll just create a means new role from AWS templates. So if you I'll name it as meetup demo, and I'll take the permission of. So there are n number of permissions. So according to your according to your need, you can means grant these permissions. So let's say I want to use DynamoDB and using Lambda. So I'll take this permission. So it will provide a template for it. And now I'll create the function. So if everything goes smooth, it will create a function for me. Else, it will throw an error. Mostly, it will throw error in your means role assigning. Means when you are assigning role, it will throw an error. Otherwise, it will go smooth. So as you can see, since I means granted the permission of AWS DynamoDB and Lambda, so it attached CloudFront log also, so that you can log your means what activities were performed in this means, by this function. So you can get a proper analysis of this Lambda function. So this way you can create your means Lambda function. So and in order to like means if you are new with AWS, so you need to browse which SDK they have written. So for example, in Python case, there that is one library named Boto 3. Uh, yeah, Boto 3. So this is the SDK which basically they have provided for Python. It has a lot of means almost all uh, services can be handled using this SDK. So you can select, for example, in our case, we want to go with DynamoDB. So we can go with DynamoDB. So there, you will get a sample of code for each activity which you want to do. So for example, if you want to create table, you can do it like this. If you want to access something, you can means you can do the put request, post request, means all kind of things you can do it over here. So for your reference, you can, if you are a Python developer, you can go to Boto 3. For Node, there are different libraries. For uh, .NET will be different. So all will have different libraries. So according to your need, you can move to, you can use those libraries. So I'll go back to the demo part. So as you can see that I have created this Lambda function, which has a basic information. Yeah, means they are similar for Java's too. So I think Amit asked, is there something for Java? So yeah, there's some means there are libraries for Java also, and the .NET. Every language has means they have written SDK for that. So you can use the SDK as per your need. Okay, and if you go to this section, it's like this means now if you go to this lambda section, so as you can see that it has means now I have written a sample code has been written. So according to your means response, so you can modify what you want to return. Like this will be like a HTTP request response. So it's like that. So you can modify it to means how you want the data to be returned. So you can do all those kind of things. So and once I have like the sample code there, I can do one thing. I can just jump to the test part. So in order to test also, AWS provide a lot of templates. Depending on your need, you need not to write the complete thing from scratch. You can directly jump to which scenario your API will request, and according to that, you can test your complete Lambda function. So, for example, I'll go with let's say I want to go with API gateway. So API gateway proxy. So as you see, it has given a lot of means variables. So it's like what your API will request your server. So it's like that. So whenever a server, whenever a browser requests anything, it in general requests like this. So it has header, it has some body part, then some path parameter, stage variables are like they will be assigned by your API gateways. So these are means like basic Lambda request to your no, sorry API gateway request for your AWS Lambda. So you can just jump into this and you can create your node template from this. So I'll name it as API uh, gateway test. Okay. So you can write multiple tests over here and you can create it. So once you have created, you can directly click on test. So it will respond with your means what it will respond to your API gateway. So as you can see, this will return status code at 200 and body is equal to hello from Lambda. So it's like that. As simple as that. So in between, you can add your compute portion, and then means a lot of features you can add over here. Means all your logic you can put over here. Only constant is the logic should execute in 15 minutes, and it should consume the RAM of maximum 3008 MB RAM it can consume. So those are nothing but the constant of your AWS Lambda. And always remember, like this is free. 1.2 means 128 MB is free. But if you as you go higher, there's certain price for that. So okay, and also this Lambda function are charged as much as you use. So like if you it runs for like 15 minutes, it will be charged according to how much time it ran. So these are like basic questions generally people ask, or means these are for certain situations in which you will go. Means you will face this kind of problems. So always remember the time limit and the constant means of the memory. So another thing with AWS Lambda is, so if you add this Lambda to your means VPC, so again means you'll have to provide a subnet in which it will run, and again means security group. So then the Lambda function will not be accessible outside your VPC. So always remember that if you're putting it in your VPC, it's like means you can use those for your internal work. So you should put that within VPC. If you are trying to make that API public, then put it outside your VPC. So these are few things which you should remember before designing your your AWS Lambda function. So now, okay. So till now, if you have any question, you can raise your questions. After that, I'll proceed further.
So what is a throttle and qualifier?
Pardon? Can you repeat?
Yeah, what is throttle and qualifiers?
Okay, so I'll tell it means like I'll demo it. So till now, if you have any question, you can ask. Okay, throttling is nothing but you can put like means how much means you can put some constant over there. So like means 10 request can be sent or like that means you can put certain constant. So it will help you reduce your server cost and all. So if you have any other query, you can ask. Okay, then I'll start means the other sections. Means I'll continue further so that we can move. Yeah. So someone was asking what qualifiers, and this is like throttling. So in qualifiers means, for example, if you go to your older version, so like means like in your Git, so there are means n number of APIs which you develop, n number of commits you make. So in if you see in AWS Lambda over here, there's nothing like that. Means it's like whatever I'm writing over here, it is directly getting attached over means to my function. Okay. So but in order to means continuously like means I'll be writing n number of code and I want to keep multiple versions, so I can use this means like if you go to qualifiers, so you can use the version name. So like this is the latest one, so you can have like means like version 1, version 2, version 3, version 4, all those kind of things you can add it over here. So like multiple versions you are running for multiple APIs, those kind of things you can put into your qualifiers. Throttling is like you must have seen network throttling and all. So it will if you go over here, so you can see like in this by default it will be 10 I think 1,000 concurrent. So these kind of means restrictions you can put like means how many users can access this API concurrently. So this will help you reduce your cost. So I hope I answered the question of throttling and qualifiers. So then I'll move to the next tab, that is like actions tab. So for example, if you means when you are done with this API, so these have a lot of actions like means you can create new version, then create alias, then you can delete your function or export a function to for further use. So these are few of the things you can access. Okay. So yeah. So yeah, means I was have talked about I think this network we have talked execution role. So for example, now say you have already defined certain roles and now you want to change those roles to another role. So that also you can do. So you can go directly over here. So for example, say I wrote one function which has a lot of features over there, so I can directly attach that role to it. And once I yeah, once I save my API, it will start reflecting on the list of roles which I have attached to it. So earlier it was only Lambda and CloudWatch and DynamoDB. Now I have X-Ray, EC2, Kinesis, Route 53, um, AWS S3, SNS, SQS. So all of the features I have integrated. So this is totally dependent on the role which you assign to this AWS Lambda. So it's totally up to what you decide is what your role is. So those roles will be directly will be the services which it can access, and those will be displayed over here. So whenever you are like not able to access like DynamoDB or any service which you want to access through code, just check whether the role which you have assigned has the permission to perform that action uh, using that service. So if you have given proper permission and your code is proper, everything will run smooth. Otherwise, maximum time you will miss the correct means like means what is the exact role to be provided. So those you may miss. So once that is done, it will be smooth. So then one thing is like triggers. So for example, in let's say you have you want to perform this API using API gateway. So this Lambda function should run using API gateway. So you can build your API over here, or you can use an existing one. So in my case, I'll create a new API. I'll make it as open, so it will be accessible through internet. And I'll directly jump to, you can go to the additional services. I think in order to check everything is done so smooth, I'll check it. This looks fine. So now I'll simply add it. So means as I was not means using an existing API, it will create an API for me. And as you can see, this is the API which was already created. And if you go up, so you can see that in triggers, the API gateway has been attached. So if anything is wrong with it, it will show over here as an error. And then you can go down and you can delete the API and you can create another one if this is like this one is not working properly. So if you go to the URL, it will say means because I attached that function and API gateway was means created you from Lambda. So by default, it handles all the cases. So in means like reverse case, for example, say you have already created API gateway and then you are attaching a Lambda function to it. You may miss like proxy settings and all. So those you will learn as you practice more. So for now, I'll show you means like I think yeah. So as we go to this AWS means API, it will return your means Lambda function is returning that whatever I have returned like hello from AWS Lambda. So it is returning the function which I wrote. So it is returning this response. So now I'll show you means what exactly happened when I created this function and what was in your what was written in your API gateway, how it was configured. So in order to do that, I'll change the service to API gateway, which is under your network section. And this is the API which is generated. So as you can see, it is URLs. These are like URLs. And if you go to the basically resource section, that over here it is written any. So whenever you are sending any request, it is doing a Lambda proxy, means it is integrating request as a Lambda proxy. And then a Lambda function, which we wrote over there, like Meetup demo, is being called, and then integration response is being, then a response is generated and it is sent to sent to your browser. And this, since it is like open API, it can be accessed through internet. So for example, now say I want to change this any to a GET request. So you can do it over here. You can directly go over here. You can create a resource. So it will ask means like what resource you want. So for example, now in this case, we have like resource path as Meetup demo. So you can create your own resource path and you can attach it over here. So for example, say now I want to attach only method. So like I want to attach a method with it, like means get request. So I can attach over here. I can directly go to this. I can select create method. So it will ask which method you want. So get, delete, head, options, patch, post. Means all requests will be there. So you can directly go over here. You can use Lambda proxy, then Meetup demo, then save it. Okay, so I'll give like okay. So I think that's all. So it will simply create your, you can test it over here and you can see that it is giving response over here. Same way you can do it for post request, patch request, any request you can do, and you can create your own Lambda functions and use this API gateway to handle this thing. So for example, if you have like a small services to run, you can use these functions. And So if you have any queries, you can ask, or if you have any scenario to discuss, you can ask. So I'll pause it. So as you can see, means it's like this. So for 1 million request, it will be free within your free tier. So that was like for one year. So after that, it will be like that. 1 million, it will be 0.2 per million request. Thereafter, it's like this. So it will be hardly crossing your dollar. Okay. However, your dependent services will may cost means more charges. So Lambda will be not a problem. The problem will be other services.
Okay.
I hope I answered your question.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. So if you guys have any other query, you can ask. Oh, oh, oh. Ready? Gotcha. Yeah, we have Slack channel also. So I'll share you the Slack link. Let me open. Yeah, invite people. So you guys can join this Slack channel where we discuss about means currently we are thinking to work on specific ideas